It's all about the Health and Healing Hub experience each and every Saturday on your favorite station between the hours of 2 and 4. ContrastRadio.net.
Guess what, collective? The Fantabulous Ms Tee is back. Yes, she's back this week. My partner in crime, collective. Welcome back to the Health and Healing Hub experience, hosted by myself, Funmilola, and the Fantabulous Ms Tee, who, as I said, is back with us again this week. And so this week we have some awesome guests that include Sis Lucy, Sis Wilma, Sis Kelly, Sis Karen, Sis Nicola, Sis Juliyah, and Sis Maxine. And as you've gathered, I'm sure, it's another full house of sisters only. Brothers. I've told you before, haven't I? Join us, the floor is also yours. Let's share. Everybody, this is the part of the show where we delve into our main discussion of the week. And today we're exploring our experiences of learning and unlearning. And as we might know, the lessons that we've internalized can be, or the experience that we've picked up along the way have shaped us. Things that we've picked up that are really limiting us and preventing us from growing, stretching and evolving. So these are more or less the things that we want to look at in terms of our journeys. I'm certainly unlearning and relearning, especially on my healing journey. And it's essential. It's really helping me to understand who I am, how I tick, and it's also helping me to understand people as well. You know, as above, so below, as within, so without. So I don't know who wants to kick off first. The question I'd ask is your journey, and what is it that you felt that you realize you've learned, you need to unlearn it and learn something else. I don't know who wants to jump in there.
I'll just say a quick thing. Over the years, I learned to be me unapologetically. Yeah, so I hope that can kick it off for people. I can elaborate later on, but just on what Funmilola was saying, over the years I had to learn how to just be me. It's okay to be me. Like, I matter. Just like everybody else, I matter. You know, you tend to put people first, or people please, because you're trying to either keep things afloat, make things happen, keep things on board, you know, keep the peace. Sometimes it's at a detriment to yourself, and that goes for family, friend or foe. Yes, I said it, family, friend or foe, but I learned how to be me unapologetically. I learned how to work on me, you know, to become that better version of myself.
Yeah, I get that. For me, it was my last relationship, really, when that came to an end, and had an inkling of some of my patterns. And when that last relationship finished, I went to Africa. I just needed to know a bit about me, to find me. I didn't go to Africa to find me, but that was part of the process that I needed to undertake for myself. And I knew that after that relationship, I was not going to jump into another one. I was not, because I knew what was going to happen. I said, nah, there's stuff that I need to deal with here. And since doing that, I'm more at peace.
I can definitely relate to that. Anybody else want to jump in? But I can definitely relate to that. I think at times as well, throughout life, you know, lived experiences, I think sometimes certain things happen. I believe the universe makes things happen, whether you like it or not, to open your eyes and to teach you a lesson. I've said it before, when people come into your lives, it's either a lesson or a blessing. And you can take that on both sides, positive or negative, but it's either a lesson or a blessing. And sometimes certain things happen. It could be death, a divorce, a life-changing experience. You've lost a limb, or you've been made redundant, or some people have to hit rock bottom, lose a house, or lose yourself. To bring yourself back up, to find yourself, as you said, Lola. I think certain life experiences can make you find your purpose as well, or a different purpose. You understand? Yeah, can anyone relate to that?
I'll follow through on what's just been shared. At the end of the day, yes, life circumstances really can literally crush you. And in terms of finding a purpose, sometimes it's not as easy as what one says. So it's basically, life is a journey, not a destination. And therefore, for me, lots of life situations have created an environment whereby you really see who's who. And people you thought were good people, quote unquote, people you thought that when your back is against the wall, they will come. And you realize that really and truly, the quantity of people you think you know, you may not really know these people. And therefore, it really goes down to quality. And when it comes to quality relationships, you may only just need 1 or 2, or possibly 3 quality people. And with that said, even those quality people also have their challenges. So it really just boils down to self, because they also are going through their own pathways in life, because we all have a pathway to follow. We all have a book of life. Life is finding what is that book of life all about. The Most High really knows everything. It's for us, therefore, to experience and find out more of who we are. So at the end of the day, it is all about learning about who you are. And sometimes it's very difficult because you don't see your blind sides. And therefore, it is really about building a closer relationship with infinite source energy, to really ask, well, why am I here? I'm here for a reason. My reason might not be your reason, so please give me the reason in, so that I can execute what I need to do whilst I'm here. So mine is more a journey of looking to unfold, unpack, to enable me to be able to be more effective and efficient, because most women are seen as helpers, servers, always giving, and at the detriment of their own health and well-being, because I'm also talking from a carer's perspective too, that you give, and even when you have nothing left, you're still looking to give, and there's a high level of burnout, and sometimes it really causes people not to be here any longer, simply because they've literally run themselves ragged. So I know it's kind of been, I've expanded quite a bit, so I'll just narrow it and home back onto the point of the learning. It's just life. You will find more and more about people as you go along, and look to become less judgmental, because you really don't know what's going on behind people's closed doors. And
that's exactly what you said there. Because people like to wear a mask at times for whatever reason. Just what you said there. Behind closed doors, you have no idea what they're going through, what they've had to go through, what their experiences are. We've all got our own story. Yeah, so I completely resonate with you. with what you said there.
That's one of the things with me also is what I've come into understanding of is really judging. I try to avoid judging, to be fair. Judging, especially if people don't really have the same values as me. The biggest lesson was with my son, because obviously your children, you want the best for them, and you think the best for them. But yeah, he really showed me, and after that I was more at peace. I thought, that's it, just let people be. And the thing is, this thing about transgender and what's the non-binary, I don't for the life of me understand. I do not understand it, but that's their path. So okay, I don't understand it, but that's just their path. And gay people, I feel, if I was to go back to ancient Egypt, I'm not saying that the men were gay, but in terms of the look, they used to wear wigs, they wore makeup, thick makeup, the eye makeup, wigs, skirts or dresses they wore. And then if you look at the Wadobe tribe, if you look at those men, I swear, they are gorgeous. They adorn themselves with jewelry and makeup and dresses. The Wadobe tribe, the men. So I'm not saying they're gay, but I'm just saying, if that makes sense, that if you look at nature, you can see so much variety, colours, smells, sights. That should teach me, at least, the varieties of birds and animals. It should teach me that there's variety. God made variety, He made us different. So that's one of the things that I've learned. I just don't judge.
It's that process of letting go of what no longer serves you. Yes, it's challenging, but it's also where the healing begins, you know? Certain things that happen, or certain things that don't happen, certain things that are expected, certain lived experiences, it makes you who you are. As you get older, the material things, they don't matter. They can get replaced. You can't get replaced. I remember, I said it before, you cannot enjoy your wealth without your health. You understand? I'm about to be a grandma, should I say, grandma. Yeah? None of us likes to be here. Okay, whether your parents were good to you or bad to you, none of us likes to be here. When you have your offspring, you tend to try and install in them what you want them to think about, your bad experiences, and as they become, whether it be fertile or about to give birth, they are going to do that same very same thing. You're going to be the best parent. They are still going to try to install in them any bad experience they had with yourself. They're going to try and install in that particular child. So you've got, your peer pressure, your societal challenges and environment, but you as a person, you can unlearn learned behaviour.
How did you unlearn yours?
Well, how did I unlearn mine? I knew from a very, very young age. I'm a child sex abuse survivor, domestic violence, you name it. Yeah, I've got the t-shirt, put it that way. Yeah, but that doesn't mean to say that I'm going to now turn out to be a man beater. You understand where I'm coming? A narcissist. Ill-treat my kids, beat my kids, abuse my... Do you understand where I'm coming from? Just because that happened to you doesn't mean you are then going to make somebody feel exactly how you felt at certain times of your life through no fault of your own. Why would you want to make somebody or intimidate somebody or put somebody through what you have experienced. And throughout your years, not sure how everybody, how old everyone, you all look like, in your 20s and your 30s.
Thanks.
But things that happen to you, good or bad, as a youngster, they've molded you into that person you are today. Whether it was a bad experience, a traumatic experience, you are the strong queens that you are today. Do you understand where I'm coming from? What made you the person you are today? Did you sit down and wallow in what was going on at the time? You may well have, but you've worked on yourself throughout the years to become the person you are today.
Lucy?
Hello, Lola.
Yeah. Would you like to share, sis?
Yeah, there's a few things there that I agree with. For me personally, I've always been a people's pleaser, or was a people's pleaser, I should say. Like in my teens, my 20s, my 30s, maybe even my 40s. I'm pushing into 60s now. I'm 57 now. So for me, it was a matter of, I can hardly say no to anybody. That's just me, and it's not because I didn't want to help the people at the time. I always liked helping people. Up to this moment, I still love helping people. But there comes a time sometimes where you think to yourself, some people out there, they're just taking advantage of you. And your advantage you can only go so long for people taking advantage of you. Right? An incident happened last year where that really, really was the last straw. It was over the edge, something to do with work, and it really stuck me overhead. I was in here crying and bawling and saying to myself, how can that person do me that? You know what I mean? I was a person that used to help them in work, and they told a big massive lie on me. And from that just turned, that kind of, as you said, learned me to say, you know what? No more. I'm not doing this no more. I've had enough. I've helped people in the past, and I've been there for people, and at the end of the day, it's always like a form of distrust every single time. And as much as sometimes I even thought to myself, you know what, I don't want to be that person. I really don't want to be a person that I have to say no, because that's not my nature. But I have to say to myself, you know what, Lucy, not everybody is like you. And this is something I'm learning now. Not everybody is like you. Not everybody has that caring, sincere nature. And just as a lady said before, a lot of times we don't know what people are going through. And sometimes when people are going through whatever they're going through, they take the frustration out on you, which is not a nice thing, but it does happen. And you yourself have got to learn, you know what, maybe that person's going through something. So what you do, you kind of step back a little bit and you let them move on and let them deal with whatever they've got to deal with. Because why is it whatever they're dealing with has to fall back on me, which is not fair? And I know that I'm true and sincere. So that's one thing that I've learned, that you cannot forever be helping people, and then at the end of the day, you always get a knockback effect. So what I've done now, what I've learned to do is I say yes when I feel like saying yes, and I say no when I feel like saying no. There's no more, I feel bad because I said no, and I really want to help that person, but look, no. What I've done now is I say no because I really want to say no, and I say yes because I really want to say yes. No more thinking of that person. I'm starting to realize, no, I've got to start thinking about me and my feelings, because when you sometimes do this, you let yourself down in the end, right? Yes, you're helping someone and you're glad to see the end product, but sometimes people, as I say, they take advantage of you. And I know not everybody's that way, but then sometimes the way how somebody treats you, you start to think that everybody may be like that. And I don't want to be that person where I think where everybody's like that. I want to be a place where, you know what, if I help that person, I'm glad. If I don't want to help that person, I'm glad. That's where I am at. That's where I am at the moment. And people might say that's selfish, but it's not selfish. I don't think it's being selfish, because before I was always selfless, and that's the problem before. But now I've come a little bit. I wouldn't say selfish, because that's not the word I want to use. There's another word.
No. You said the word, Lucy. It's not being selfish. It's being selfless.
Yeah, being selfless a little bit more to myself and my need and what I want. And I'm glad to do for anybody grateful. There's quite a few experiences in my life where I look back and I think, no, so that person was only using me at the time. You know what I mean? And now I think, you know what? It is what it is. It's past. But moving on, it's a lesson. As you say, every lesson is a blessing. Every season has its reason, or every reason has its season, anyhow you want to look at it. But everything that we do go through is definitely a lesson. It makes us stronger or it makes us weaker. We have to decide which way it's going to make us. And for me, it's made me stronger. Definitely. I'm a different person. The Lucy I am now at 57 is not the Lucy I was at 27. Oh,
that's right. Let me ask you something.
No.
What you would do in hindsight now, because as we get older, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago, you can actually look back, and you damn well know, certain actions that you did, you handle those actions at the time that fitted and suited you at that particular time. That time you was in that particular mindset, you had the particular means. These were your thoughts. This is how you dealt with it. 20, 30 years down the line now, that would have never have happened. You would have handled it this kind of way because you never known it. But it comes with age, and like I said, it's made
definitely
now. You cannot force people to think or say or do or not do as you do. We're all individuals.
We're all individuals, and that's what I've learned.
But going back to what you said, Lucy, and you know what is it, Juliyah? Yeah. We've all got our own minds, and we grow. You evolve. Do you understand where I'm coming from? And I think Juliyah said it before. It's about quality, not quantity. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people. But the people in a family circle very small. Do you understand where I'm coming from? And that's through life experiences. You build, you build up that little fortress around you to certain people can, but it makes you that stronger person. You have to be true to yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. I train people to be more assertive. You understand where I'm coming from? Is it that's going to be detrimental to you? Your brethren is not going to ask you to do something or put you in something that's going to be detrimental to you. Not knowingly. Yes, you can't see around corners, but they're not going to do that to you. You're going to have that brethren who's going to tell you, you know what? If you're coming at me, you can't wear that dress. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Or a business venture that's going to crush you. They're going to talk to you like, sis, like, seriously? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you, got solicitor to look at, blah, blah, blah. They're going to have your best interests at heart all the time. You can have friends for 20, 30 odd years. The universe will open your eyes one day for you to say, you know what?
Yes.
That person that you thought was your friend for the last 30 odd years.
Absolutely.
Let me open your eyes a little more so you can really see, the devil that you've had standing with you for the last 30, 40 years. The universe will do that.
Yes.
Lucy,
Lucy, what I sorry to cut, but Lucy, I wanted to say when you touched on, you said something around something happening again and again, and Dolores Cannon came in. She just flashed into my mind, and I remember her teaching about things that happen to us, how it will keep repeating. You'll get the same issues repeating. They happen until you learn the lesson, and then once you've learned the lesson, you'll see that it disappears. Where we are, planet Earth, is just a squall. And she likened it with this Space Invaders game. I don't know if you remember that in the 80s we had a game called Space Invaders. I used to love it. Pac-Man, that was Pac-Man. I love this game. So you play it and you practice your skills, and you practice and you practice and you practice. When you learn, you go on to a next level, then you go to a next level, and you might even get killed, but if you get killed, you come back again. And this is life. this is how it was. Dolores Cannon, and then also Myra Moss is another person. Amazing in terms of what they teach. Nicola, did you want to share something, sis?
Good evening, everyone. I think for me, learning to say no is quite a thing, because I feel like I've gone through some stuff in my life and I've never really said no, like that kind of thing. Or you might say no in your head, or you might say no to someone else that you're saying no, like, oh, I want to say no, but am I actually gonna do it and say no? And I felt like in the last 3 years I've had time to just look at my life, look at where it is, what's happening, where do I want it to go. I've been given that chance, and just learning to say no and identifying when people are doing you wrong, because when you're in it you don't see it. Even though I know that someone's doing me wrong, but I didn't have the strength to call it out. Or, I mean, it's not that I didn't call it out, it's about the strength to kind of take it to the next level. So yeah, you might call it out, but then you go, do you really want to take it to HR? Do you really want to take it to the union? Do you really want to, because you know that person's gonna have A, B and C ready, so they ground you to a point where you're like, I don't have the strength to do it because I know that they're gonna win. It's that kind of thing. And it's taken a while, and it affected my mental health and things like that. I was working mad hours, stupid things which I didn't need to do, but I just couldn't work during the day. It's really weird when someone's like on you. It's like you're trying to do the bare minimum just to get by, and then when they've logged off, then that's when you start work. Can you imagine starting work when someone's logged off, and then you're continuing, and by the time you finish working, which is like 9 o'clock or whatever in the evening, then you got to have something to eat, then you got to go to bed, and that's a continuous circle, Monday to Friday, and even on the weekend, because you're just trying to play catch up because you just don't want to get in trouble. It's those kind of things. So for me, it's like, learning to say no and telling management I don't want nothing to do with that person because of how they treated me, and actually having the balls to say that, because I've never done that before. Yeah, I might think it or whatever, but I've never actually told a manager, like, I don't want them to talk to me, I don't want nothing to do with them. Like, that's not normally me, but I just had to, because I was like, because they're affecting my mental health. So I think learning to say no, or just standing up for yourself, I think is so important in this day and age now. When things are wrong, calling it out when it needs to be called out in the right way, but in the right way, because it has to be done properly. Otherwise we're seen as being angry, as we did the play, and sometimes we get angry, and damn right we do, because we are vexed about the injustice that we experience, and that's when we did the play. A lot of emotions came out of that play.
I saw it.
That it built it. I had a lot of, I didn't even know, because I'm quite happy-go-lucky and I'm loud.
You are, Nicola.
I'm happy, but I didn't know I had a lot of things pent up in me,
locked inside.
Yeah, until I said some words. What was the words? It was like, these women sometimes can be angry. You got a problem with that?
Yes, that was it. Yeah,
that was the words.
Yeah, that was it.
But when I said it, in that dress rehearsal, I started bawling. I started crying.
Wow.
Because I couldn't even believe it. I couldn't even get me words out. I just had to kind of take the moment, and I could feel the love of my, because we were doing a play, the love of my, my fellow actors, or actresses, shall I say, like they were holding me, because that was, like literally it was holding me, not because we were in a play, but it's because they could see that I was, it took me to another level.
It touched you.
Yeah. And Nicola, you were healing, because that's what tears do. They help you to heal. See, that play was so healing.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people didn't know what it was gonna be about and what it meant and what have you. But the words, because it was coming from personal experience, and even though I never shared any personal experience, I still felt everybody's personal experience. And when I said those words, I felt it. And so because there's a lot been going on and what have you, and maybe I just needed to release, and that's what I did.
Exactly. And I think, thank you for Kiers to share. I mean, at the end of the day, one, it's all about setting boundaries. Two, it's also about self-love. We talk about selfless, it's also about self-love, that you're a very important person. So if you're giving out love, where's the love you're giving to self? That should be number two after the Most High. So at the end of the day, it's imperative that things happen, and sometimes you're not sure why. You just said a few words, and that really released what was inside of you. So sometimes it's about places and spaces and timing and positioning, and that was your time, space and position. And also it's important to acknowledge as well that even though you can be 50, 60, 70, you still will be making mistakes as well. Going back to earlier, what I think her name was Lucy, was saying at the end of the day. Sorry?
No, I said it doesn't stop there. Of course not. It doesn't stop there, no.
Yeah, I mean, so the key thing is I see things as in stages and phases. When you're younger, you're thinking when you hit a certain age, you should have this, you should have that, you should be doing this, you should be there, that, and everywhere. Then when you hit those particular ages and you haven't hit those milestones, it's like, what's happening here? Type of thing. So, but I think the key learning is to be still gentle with self, and not to be hyper-critical of self, because sometimes the self-talk that we may speak, we wouldn't have any friends, we wouldn't have no family, we wouldn't have nobody around us. Sometimes the level of criticism we give to self is insane, literally. So it's really about then just saying, okay, acknowledge that, however, you don't need to own it. Because those things, if you don't acknowledge, if you look to keep on suppressing things, it's going to be like a pressure cooker. You're going to explode eventually. So therefore, when you do have those kind of limiting beliefs, those hypercritical statements, to look at it and say, okay, is that really truly me? And when you're down, you'll say yes, 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 but deep in your heart, that's not who you truly really are. So it's really about just constantly finding simple, small things to acknowledge that you are amazing. You're here for a reason, and everything is here either as we're here for a reason, season, a lifetime in terms of people who we interact with, and it's our life journey to discern what is really going on in this place and space. And it's not always easy, but the key thing is that we need just one or two people to be like good support networks, because you mentioned about mental health just a minute ago, Nicola, and at the end of the day, it's imperative that you at least have one or two people that you can just cry. And sometimes you don't even need to speak. You can just look at each other and just give each other a hug and be in silence. And that speaks volumes in terms of the emotional connection that you have with that individual. Sometimes you don't need to speak. You just need that person to be present, actively listening, but being silent to give you that space to express self. I'm not sure if you follow where I'm coming from. But
No,
Absolutely
absolutely understand that one. That's so beautiful. I've got a particular friend actually that I'm like that with her, and I think I'm like that with, because I ask myself, why am I like that with her? I just want to hug her, and I think it is what it's stemming from for me is because I know her story. When she's around, I just hold her hand, and oh, I love that. I just love what you just said there, Julia. Amazing, love it. Love it.
it's just simply just creating a space, and I'm not going to use the cliche safe space. It's just creating a space. And I think a lot of times people may in certain situations feel invisible and feel not heard. Yeah. And then when you can just show them, I see you, yes. I hear you,
yes.
I'm here for you, yes. Can make a world of difference. And sometimes that could possibly save a life too.
Oh my God.
Most definitely. So sometimes it's the smallest thing that you've done for somebody, yeah? You could meet them 20, 30 odd years down the line. To you, it didn't matter, but you was there. So that person, for them to seek you out 20, 30 odd years later and just say, see, do you remember that day? Such and such a day, yeah. Or I was about to slip my wrists, or I was about to, just those words, or no words, like you said, just sometimes being silent. Just the fact that you're there. I have people on the phone. I'm on the other side of the phone, not even in the room, but because you're there, that particular moment in time, it makes a big difference to somebody. It makes a hell of a lot of stuff. When you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, we all have our own different experiences, but you can resonate, empathetically with what the person's gone through. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Well, I would just say by been through many different challenges, and one of the main ones was being younger and being bullied. And my objective was then okay, to overcome bullying was to excel as much as I can and really push myself to be better. But at the same time, during that process, I also, goes back to Nicola about when she mentioned about aggressive. Well, there's a fine line between being assertive and aggressive. And I tended to be labeled in the aggressive camp, simply because I'm a person who observes but also likes to ask lots of questions, and a lot of people don't like being asked questions. Okay. They'll prefer people to be more submissive, but also just accept as status quo and don't rock the boat. And suffice to say that through these challenges, it has enabled me to work through situations. I'm not going to say that I've completely overcome all of this, because that would be a fallacy. However, the objective behind the exercise now is to work on being in that space and just saying, okay, I don't need to come in there with a victim mentality. I don't need to come in there walking on eggshells. My background at the moment is in EDI. And within that equality, diversity, inclusion space, it's all about having these courageous conversations. And people really say that they want things in organizations, but at the end of the day, it's a tick box exercise. And right. So therefore, when I'm saying, well, this is simply a tick box exercise, that kind of approach is not really palatable for many. And I'm seen as the troublemaker, and I'm seen as the one who's causing issues within the team. And it's like, well, really, if you're looking at absenteeism rates, sickness levels, if you're looking at presenteeism in the workplace, who's actually looking at what could be the causes of why people are behaving in these particular situations at this particular moment in time. Now, HR should be looking at this and be thinking, well, why is this department going this way? What measures can we put in place? You may have health and well-being policies, but how effectively are they actually measured, monitored? What impact do they actually really have? Now, this kind of line of inquiry is not always received in a as who do you think you are type of situation. But my objective is to be the employee's liaison. I'm there looking to see, well, how can I be an advocate for that certain members of staff who may just say, like, I'm not happy, but I'm not too sure how to express that unhappiness. You may have whistleblowing policies, but are they actually really implemented? And if you do whistleblow, is there also impact for the whistleblower, even though it's supposed to be protecting the anonymous individual? Somehow they seem to become visible when they're supposed to be anonymous. So anyway, I'm going off track, but my objective behind you...
No, you're not. No, I don't feel like you're going off track, because it does affect. It affects people a lot. If you think years ago, people wouldn't say anything because of fear of losing their job. Has that changed? Exactly. Things are in place, but has that changed? Just going off what you just said, and dealing with people and talking on the counselling level, I know that's not changed.
No. And I would also say that at the end of the day, if you are talking about EDI, it should be representative within the different levels within the organisation. It shouldn't be, should we just say, snowy capped mountains at the top?
Yes.
Yeah. At the end of the day, if you're looking about serving communities, it should be reflective, but they shouldn't just be token image people for a photo shoot to say, look, diversity. Yeah. Can these people have power? Can they have influence? Can they have impact for real meaningful change to happen?
Maxine, did you want to contribute?
Yeah, I think I was listening to, I'm not sure, so forgive me if I'm wrong, where Kim was sharing her experience in the workplace, was it, regarding whether you say something regarding how people are treating you, or she didn't want to be around that manager? Is that the right thing that I picked up?
Was that Nicola or Julia that mentioned something like that?
That was me.
It was Nicola.
Nicola. Oh, sorry, Nicola.
That's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I've had similar experiences in workplaces where, and in my personal life, where I've said no, that I can't do something, but people didn't really recognise my no. And I used to think to myself, do I need to shout it out loud? Do I need to be getting vexed about it? How do you project this no that people understand that actually I can't do that? Why are you trying to persuade me otherwise, kind of thing? But I've learned over time, and in those times when they didn't hear me, I feel that when I've come out of a fog of myself, where maybe I've gone into myself and I don't know, become, in inverted commas, unwell, sick, where I've had too much pressure that I've not realised I've been under until I've literally worked myself out of it and say, okay, well, I can see the light. So for me, one of the things that have worked for me, I kind of say to myself, if I'm going into a particular experience where I know I need all the courage, I kind of say to myself, I need shields around me. So I literally say to myself, shields up before I get into the place. And it seems to work, because there are people that just, they're like, I don't know if entities is the right word to use, that will attack you when you are at your most vulnerable. Yeah, where you can't have that voice, and you might want to turn to someone, but you're like, maybe who do I trust right now? But when you kind of, you have to be, I know things can affect your mental health, but you have to be well in order to deal with something. So sometimes you do have to retreat to, well, I found, to recuperate, and there's no shame or anything in that, because you can't throw yourself at something that you're not prepared for, because people will just pick the bones off you, really pick the flesh off you, and just chuck you away. So that's how, personally for me, on my journey so far, that I now know that if I need a little bit of extra, you know, I can psych myself up, and I literally do say, the shields need to be up right now, ancestors be with me, so that I can go with people.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. One thing for myself, or another thing for me, is over-explaining. I'm not doing it. I could see. Just over-explaining. If I tell you simply and you don't get it, I might tell you again. But after that, as long as I know what my intention is, and, you know, put it across in a well-mannered way and fashion, then I'm actually okay with that now. I can see where it comes from, just from doing some work, and this is stemming from childhood. And also, I think when if you're in a DV relationship, or, you know, an abusive relationship, that kind of behavior can come from those experiences. So it takes time to first of all to be aware of it, and then once you're aware, take time with yourself and ask yourself, this is me, ask myself questions. It's really important for me to have my time where I have to sit with myself and ask myself questions, and don't run away from the answer. That's partly how I've grown and learned more about myself. I think, Kim, you said something about looking back and seeing a different person. Yeah, I see that in me. I've still got a long way to go, but when I look back, even one of my friends said to me yesterday, was talking about marriage, and he said, oh, something about, are you going to get married or something like that? I said, I'm not really bothered. At one point, that used to be up there. That is like, there's no way I am going to be no. I'm going to be in something. Yeah. So, but I'm just so okay with just being with me. In fact, that's what I want to do, because it's important. It's important. It's important for me to know me. I'm not rushing nothing. I'm not saying that I don't want to be with someone. It'd be lovely, but it's fine. It really is okay how it is at the moment. Karen.
Oh, Karen.
Hello. Hi. Yeah, I agree. There's lots of just learned behaviours. I think, like, we've all been children live what they learn, and as a result of that, some things which might be seen as normal are not normal. They're just prevalent, and we accept them to be the norm. We're all different, we've all got different benchmarks for things, but the general consensus is that, you know, most of our parents, especially our mothers, they work themselves to the bone. They were martyrs in some ways, and although that they were strong black women, they also, the flip side is the era that they were raised in themselves was really quite, everybody had their own particular roles, and people were submissive for a plethora of different reasons, be it security, financial security, or just because they want to keep the fabric of their family unit together and put up with a lot of stuff. And, you know, we have that trickle-down effect.
So we're running out of time, folks. So we will... Okay, this one again. We're running out of time, folks. So we will continue with part 2 of this discussion, learning and unlearning. If you're listening to the show on YouTube, it will end shortly. If you're listening to us on Contrast Radio, then you can enjoy the second part of the show after the advert break, where we're going to take you on a magical musical journey featuring the songs that influenced, molded and shaped us. Hold tight. Now, to the listeners, just another reminder, the information heard here is not intended to serve as medical advice and should not be used for the diagnosis or treatment of a health problem or disease. As I always say, investigate, do your own research when it comes to your health issues.
It's all about the Health and Healing Hub experience each and every Saturday on your favorite station between the hours of 2 and 4. ContrastRadio.net.